Hello, hello.
How's it going?
Hey, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
It's a bit awkward. I don't can use my camera if that's okay. Today is not the day.
that's okay. I'm quite
Yeah,
bad at
thanks.
like flipping that thing over anyway, so that's fine.
Oh, good for you then, and for me because not only my good camera is preoccupied by my sister, but also I look like a literal train wreck at the moment, or roadkill, as you say. So I would
Oh,
prefer not to show my face. Yeah, I returned home earlier, so I decided to give you a call because uh, I wanted to. Hello,
cool.
everyone, and everyone who's there and listening. I talked with Wonderbox 2 times, and it's been a while, I think, since last time we spoke.
It has
So
about
yeah.
5 or 6 months, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, something like that. Times is a very weird when you live in a war zone. So really
yeah.
hard to say what the heck is going on most of the time. On most days, you really like don't know what the heck is even going on. So there's that. Yeah. So how have you been? The best
How
lefty.
have I been? Good. I've been all right, just chugging away. Um, I haven't been in trouble for a while, so that's cool. Yeah, just
Oh, haven't been in trouble. I have been in a bit of a trouble.
you have with.
Yeah, that dragged you a little bit for some reason. And also Brianna Wu, I don't know if you know her, but
Mhm.
very weird for me because she kind of like wrote a supportive message on my Twitter and got like swarmed. So yeah, it was very strange. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, well, I must say I hate online commies now more than I did, so that's the only thing that changed pretty much. Yeah.
They are a
I was
pretty exceptional breed, especially whenever you argue with them, you have to learn like five different completely alien like pseudo academic concepts just to have a fucking conversation with them, you know? You have to learn what material conditions are. You have to learn what double genocide theory is. You have to learn, like, I don't know, you have to learn every single racial slur, apparently, for every fucking Eastern European or, like, supposedly right wing Latin American or Middle Eastern. Yeah, I don't know shit.
uh, yeah, it is pretty weird. I have not interacted much with them before, and I kind of glad I didn't, to be honest. I also made a grand mistake of treating them at first as, people
Mm,
and not like vicious bullies and bots. So I was just at the first I made that if people might not know, but I just made like basically a post on Twitter, retweeted a person, and I criticized him and people like him who obsess over like symbols, aesthetics, and yeah, Ukrainian Nazi, whatever the heck, like some like patches on some Ukrainian soldier, and they amplify it and they highlight it, talk about it on Twitter. And I pretty much made a point that it's harmful, quite harmful to Ukraine considering things. And I don't see what are you doing by that other than amplifying Russian narratives, which
mm-hmm.
people do sometimes, like, intentionally because they are pro-Russian, obviously. But this person claimed to be like pro-Ukraine. Basically, his tweet said like, "I'm actually like pro-Ukraine, but
Yeah, yeah.
kind of like that. Yeah, but this is look at this soldier wearing like a patch with a skull and how fucking awful, and it makes me uncomfortable to support Ukraine." Basically, was his point,
Mm,
despite the fact that people tried to gaslight me into saying that it was not his point. Also, the fact that he's a communist and has like a hammer and sickle shit didn't help my charitability, and yeah, maybe he's not like the worst example, but I still used him as an example of a person who intentionally or not just plays into the hand of Ukrainian Nazis and narrative. And also Ukrainians are kind of sensitive about that shit for obvious reasons,
yeah.
because this is the reason they came here to kill us, apparently. Of course, it's a bullshit reason, but they claim that denazification is the reason. It also has a very heavy history in this part of the world because this has been used before to genocide people, Ukrainians in particular, and Crimean Tatari in particular. So yeah, so this is yeah. That was my point, which ended up being there was like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of fucking people messaging, retweeting, and just swarming like my every tweet with just some with comments like calling me a Nazi, calling me a Nazi defender, and that wasn't the nice ones. There were way worse things than that, obviously. Like some people would joyfully call like Ukrainians subhuman, and that we should be grateful to glorious USSR for for allowing scum like us there.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's
sweet. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
It's really difficult because, there's kind of like a spectrum, right? Because, like, I'd imagine the people who believe that, like, the Ukrainians aren't real and they should be grateful that the Russians are coming back, is probably going to be a pretty small minority of like the online fucking socialists. And then there's a much more common one, which is like, oh, we don't like Russia; they're really fascist and all that, but we don't think Ukraine deserves to be invaded. But I'm just very uncomfortable sending my taxpayers' money to a bunch of Nazis, right? Like that's the whole,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's basically the narrative I was originally criticizing,
yeah.
but ended up being swarmed by people way worse than that guy, to be fair. And yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's exactly what my point. Because also I was called a Zionist, a fucking Zionist. That's a new one
Um,
because I brought up Palestine. Basically, I said like I see like a hypocrisy among leftists quite often. That they will be saying like free Palestine and full on support of Palestine, but they are completely ignore the fact that Hamas is I don't know, like way more like anti-Semitic than like Azov or any other like Ukrainian group can dream of being. In their actual manifesto, there's like we should kill the Jews and we should do this. Jews control the media, they control the world, they like are evil behind every bad thing that happens, and it is our holy mission to annihilate them and things like that. So straight up like Nazi shit. And yeah, it's just and I brought it up that you can support Palestine, right? And still and don't feel uncomfortable because of that, but you are uncomfortable because some Ukrainian soldiers wear patches. It kind of doesn't add up. So for that, I was called a Zionist, a Nazi Zionist, apparently. So yeah, that's
Yeah, it's like a huge double standard because I think with they have this kind of dichotomy with Middle Eastern anti-Semitism, which is either they'll say it doesn't exist or they'll say it does exist, but it's completely understandable because of Israel. But like again, it's just like it's pretty incomparable. Like these people like Hezbollah and shit, like they believe in the fucking protocols. It's like literal. And even back in the day,
ah
like there were like Nazi-inspired pogroms in like Algeria and like parts of the Middle East and shit. So, fuck, it's like, but I think there are certain. I don't know, it depends on whether or not you're trying to change people's minds or whatever. Like I think there's a few traps you fall into with these groups because I think one thing is that I think when people like that get called Russia apologists, I think that kind of like is one of the things that makes them switch off very quickly because in their heads they're a lot of them are just like, oh, it's not like it's not that we like Russia at all. We're just skeptical about arming Nazis, and that's like, um, I think there's a trap where you can fall into where when you talk about the skulls, especially like the death in June thing, is it's very easy to
mhm.
fall into a position where it looks like you're downplaying. Whereas what I think the much more, I think a better way to put it for me, I know you haven't even asked for my advice, but I'm going to do it anyway. But
Yeah, no.
mansplaining. So I think I think a good thing to do is like it's probably okay to acknowledge that there are like far right elements in like Eastern Europe and all that, and that like there is obviously Ukraine has a pretty like nasty past when it comes to Nazism and the fucking like the Banderites and shit like that. I think it's okay to acknowledge all that, but it's like I think at the end of the day, if you are basing your policy decisions on pictures of an army of 200,000 people and a handful of pictures of people with skulls on their armor, which could very well be a signal for like some kind of like Nazi thing. But if that's all you can fall back to after we've been arming the Ukrainians for over a year, if all you can still point to is there are some photographs,
Mhm.
there's no evidence of anti-Semitic laws being passed, there's no evidence of like pogroms, there's no evidence of like racial hate crimes increasing, there's no evidence of like fucking Nazis doing Nazi shit. If all it is like there's an army doing normal army shit, but some of them have skulls on their armor. It's like, I don't care, you know?
Y- Yeah, it's exactly the conversation I would have with someone reasonable. but they
Mm.
weren't. So, I realized they were like fucking just atrocious people who just came to, to with anime profile pics, completely useless people who did not amount to anything in their life. So the only thing they have is being happy they can ratio someone on Twitter by uplifting their own posts. It was basically like a targeted attack. I just didn't realize it, so I tried to talk like you just did with people, and
Mm.
then I realized they have like zero interest. They would just spam me with like Bandera pictures, with like Ukrainians are Nazis, with like straight up like some. Also, I didn't know that for those like communist people, it's apparently I am against. Saying I am against apartheid Israel state is actually a code for I hate Jewish people. Because
Mm.
I'd never seen so much anti-Semitism from far right people. I'll be honest with you. I sent you like a picture right now of a screenshot of a kind of post they made. If you can see it, I don't know if you
Yeah.
can even show that shit without being like it's just basically if you don't want to show this shit to people, it's just basically picturing like our president Zelensky like I don't know, huge nose, like long, like hands. He's like just like I don't know how to even say it, like like a Nazi stereotype basically of a Jewish person that she's like it's just so weird. I don't understand how a person like that could even call someone a Nazi with a fucking straight face. It's just yeah, it's just very strange. And also my point about like leftists being obsessed with aesthetics was, taken very not good in a not good way, because they were like, yeah, of course, like Nazi symbols is aesthetics. And I was like, no, you just misunderstand. Like you're concentrated on not on the actions, not on
Yeah.
the real things, but on the appearances. And this post actually that I sent you the screenshot is actually a perfect example of that, because a person criticizing that communist dude for sending a picture like that of Zelensky with a nose and everything has like Azov symbol in his bios, is a Ukrainian dude, Lev. And he has like Azov cross, Iron Cross, and
Mm.
people would see him and they would think he's a Nazi because he has those symbols in his name, but they wouldn't call a Nazi a person who sent picture like that. Like that just very confusing to me. Just concentrate on the actions. Do you see like Ukrainians act in those ways? Do you see this ideology getting prominence in Ukraine? No, in fact, this war made Ukrainians more progressive, actually, which is weird, but it is what it is. So yeah, so it's just so confusing. Like we talked with you about it before. Like we have pretty much nobody of far right people in our government. It's very deeply unpopular in Ukraine. This is very very weird, and just yeah, just that was my reasonable, I guess you could say, point. But yeah, I understand quickly that those no talking with these people, they didn't come there to talk. I was reposted by a person, I don't know, he who shall not be named. I don't know if you want to talk about him or not. The person
It's fine.
who yeah, bad empanada dude. Yeah, and he was basically just he called me a Nazi, and then like a bunch of like crazy people attacked me, is what basically happened. I actually talked with a trans girl from Poland who doesn't want to talk about him at all because she has been so attacked by his community that she just afraid to name him. That's just how they operate, I guess, like terrorize people and shit. Yeah, so that's very very strange, but kind of pathetic at the same time. Seeing them like uplifting their own their own tweets. That's just was very like similar people, like dozens of people, just liking same tweets of each other, just to make it appear that they're like winning this game against me. Very fun.
Yeah, it's like it's
Yeah.
pretty bizarre that someone who behaves like he does. I don't really care that much about him because he's just like a miserable fuck who like is just
Yeah.
staggering on, like circling the drain of fucking relevance with his shitty YouTube channel and all that. But like, I think the thing is that it's there are quite a few reasonably large left wing creators who like shout him out and like support that kind of behavior, or they just don't know about it, or
Mm.
they just don't care because I guess they think like if it comes from the left, it's more acceptable, right? Um,
Yeah,
but
he's
yeah,
like a
like
straight up anti-Semite. That dude. I have like no even I don't even bother hiding. Yeah, I was just very confused by how much anti-Semitism I got from these people. It was very confusing, especially since they call me Nazi. And post
yeah,
never-ending
well,
pictures of like Bandera in my feed. It's just very strange. Well, anyhow, an experience. I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm not like that bothered. I'm just like very surprised just how low these people just can sink, in their behavior. Very strange, but
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
it's just the extents people will go to like defend. It's not even because obviously that it's they wouldn't even most of them wouldn't even say they have any love for Russia, but because it's like because it's not so much that it's Russia, but it's like an enemy of the Soviet Union. Like they still consider Ukraine, even though the Soviet Union doesn't fucking exist anymore. Like Ukraine is still an enemy of the Soviet Union. So like the enemy of my enemy can like kind of become my friend. Is kind of maybe I think how they see it. But like
Mm,
I don't know. There's just like
I don't know.
it's all very fucking like yeah, I get tempted to engage with that stuff every now and then
No,
because
I
it's
don't.
like, but it's just like it's the thing about these people is they have no relevance. Like no one gives a fuck about them, and
Yeah,
especially when like they'll
exactly.
act as if like they're very like third worldist and in touch with the international working class. But you look at all these countries that they claim to stand for, whether it's like fucking Palestine or whatever. But like, and then they'll do that by championing voices from those parts of the world that have like 1% of the vote, right? Like no one in the fucking Arab world is a communist, like barely anyone, right? But apparently like
Well,
their voice is the one that like speaks out for them, or like no one in fucking Ukraine is a communist like there, or no one like in Russia, like they don't, yeah, it's just like it's just a very small like insane internet club that has no fucking relevance in the real world, and yeah, or apart from maybe like China, but even
yeah,
then, so
basically
yeah.
that kind of what made me relax a little bit, because I just realized those are very like resentful, upset people that have like no power whatsoever, probably in their own life as well. Apparently, if they spend their days doing this shit on Twitter all day, I suppose they don't have like much of a life, family, friends, or whatever it is, and they just lash out is what they do, and they feel like their own, like, I don't know, like they think if they put a Stalin on their like picture, profile picture, they're edgy and cool, but it's just very stupid. It's very stupid and kind of dull, to be quite honest. Have better things to do. Yeah. Also, the thing, fun fact is about Bad Empanada that he's very much pro-Russian, and quite a lot of people were. So, which didn't surprise me much. But yeah, but those like no, the guys love their gulags. So we just can't, they just want a daddy dictator. It's a kink. I tend to not kink shame people. So if you like see Putin as your new daddy dictator, then that you jerk off to. You do you. Just we have different taste, I guess.
No, I mean, like one of the big feuds I had with him was like I managed to get him to admit that he wants to put like Israelis into concentration camps. Well, he calls them re-education camps, but it's like it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
really.
they love their
Yeah,
gulags. Like I said, they do
I
enjoy that power thrill of being the ones in charge of the gulag. Bad thing is that sometimes you get into the gulag, not in charge of it. In countries like that, you never know what you will do wrong. Yeah, so it's just yeah. What anyhow, those people are truly like I have like zero hope for them, honestly.
did you
to,
manage to
to
get
be
into a? Did you
yeah.
get into like any of the Soviet misinformation that they tend to spread? Like,
Yeah, I've seen a bunch, but it's just also kind of hard like I said, to talk with them even because, like I said, I'm comfortable with the levels of hate towards Jewish people. Ironically, I'm uncomfortable with like just straight up hate for everyone Slavic who is not Russian,
mm-hmm,
I guess. So also not based like it includes like Poland, Baltics. Baltics is not Slavic, but like former Soviet, like post-Soviet people, and anyone who were like forcefully included in that whole mess. And yeah, also like all of them like have this hammer and sickle shit, and it's kind of ironic for them again to attack like people who have like Azov national ID symbol, which is like N crossed by I thing, which is maybe questionable. I don't believe it's a Volksangel, like this shit, but even if it's you can say it's questionable, but I would wish they change the logo, to be quite honest.
mm-hmm.
But it's questionable, but that hammer and sickle shit is not questionable. And Stalin in the profile pic is also not questionable. So it's just for East European, this is just exactly like having Hitler and swastika. It's just about the same. So yeah, pretty confusing. But the good thing, like you said, about those people is they're fucking useless and irrelevant. So there's that.
Yeah, I think the last fucking I think the last little bad empanada run in that I had was he was trying to say that like I don't know. You just get all these little like weird quips. It's kind of revealing though, because I think the last thing I saw him saying was something like, "Do you know the whole thing about Lend Lease, like America sending weapons to the Soviet Union during the
Yeah,
Second
yeah.
World War?"
I know, no.
I think one of the
Yeah.
things that they like to say is that like the Soviets were able to win the Battle of Moscow without any Lend Lease. But then I remember looking into that and just thinking like Britain actually
Yeah,
sent
they sent
like
so much stuff.
yeah, and like I looked
You
into this as well. I was like, yeah, like
USA too.
like yeah, the United Kingdom had actually sent like hundreds of tanks and planes that were used in the
Yay!
Battle of Moscow. Just like, yeah, these guys are just fucking frauds. Like that's it. They're just like, and not
Yeah.
only frauds, but like frauds for the weirdest thing as well. Just like doing like national military chauvinism for for like a state that doesn't even exist anymore. Yeah, it's just
Yep.
yeah, it's a bit of a mess. But
Putin has a dream, that they share. Apparently, he has like this idea of like restoring, like, doing like Soviet Union 2.0, basically, which is why he just simply cannot fuck off, from us because we are part of it. Belarus, Ukraine are very like, incredibly important for that plan to work out because they kind of see us like as this like very cringe, but like a trinity of true Slavic people, descendants of like Kiev and Rus, cringe like that basically. And they would be like, oh, so Russians are at the top, obviously, right? They're like the dominating Slav, the best Slav. But yeah, but they just kind of, kind of relate to that. Also, he's basically positions himself like this anti-West, anti like whatever the fuck, power. And they just don't care. Like anyone who's anti-American to them is based. Like if it's North Korea, whatever, great. North Korea, good job. No,
yeah,
it's just kind of like that. Yeah.
what do you think about I guess this is yeah, like what do you think about the take that the critique of Eastern European countries and like more likely their governments that haven't really done that much to atone for or like address their past when it came to like Holocaust collaboration and Nazi stuff. Do you think that's like a valid critique or what are your thoughts on
Mm,
that?
to be quite honest, I'm not sure well, atone like for what exactly. Like, I mean, it was for Ukraine, for example, right? It was quite small actually event. I know it sounds like kind of kind of not nice on my part, but it was like it get this huge relevance, and people talk about Bandera sometimes like he was worse than fucking Hitler.
Mm,
It's just it's just blatantly not true. Sure, there were things like that. For example, in Romania, there was like this crazy ass like Archangel Black Legion, something like that. There was like crazy like Catholic Nazi shit that this legion like went about and killed like a bunch of like Jewish people and a bunch of stuff. Like yeah, sure, it happened in like World War II, and yeah, it's very bad, not good, but yeah, it's World War II, shit went down and bigger shit than this as well. Like, how do you supposed to like atone for that? It's not like it was like entire country of like Romania supported that shit. Oh, I don't know, like entire or all Ukrainians were just running around killing Jews.
mm,
Most of the Ukrainians actually fought in the Red Army against Nazis. We actually were like a huge chunk of, in fact, Red Army, and not to mention the fact that it was Ukraine that was occupied by Nazis, and it was Ukrainians who they killed mostly. Belarus people, I think, suffered the worst, if I'm not mistaken, like in
mm.
terms of like numbers relative to how many people lived in the country. So yeah. So what are we like atoning for? That there were Nazi collaborators? I'm sorry. Well, yeah. Like what's the atonement supposed to look
Well,
like?
I don't.
I guess.
Yeah, so I don't know
Yeah.
specific examples in Ukraine, but I know, for example, like Latvia, when I was in the occupation museum in Riga, they mention a lot. The first thing you see when you go in is you'll see like the swastika flag on the left, and then the hammer and sickle on the right, and it's like we were occupied on one end by the Soviets, then the Nazis, then the
Yeah.
Soviets
Exactly.
again. But I don't think they ever actually mentioned the way that the not only the people, but like a lot of the leadership or whatever, like unofficial government of Latvia was like very complicit in the Holocaust, but they just don't mention that. And I think Poland's like has this like Holocaust law, I think, that makes it kind of like almost like a legal issue to discuss Poland's role in the Holocaust as well. So I don't know if
Hmm.
Ukraine has like equivalents to that, but yeah, I definitely know it's parts of like exist in like Poland and the Baltic states. So yeah.
Well, we kind of like talk about it a bit. I think in regards to have like a bunch of like Holocaust memorials everywhere. We have insane amount of Jewish people, so there's like a lot of reasons to talk about it still, obviously, right? We have like By the way, that Babin Yar, people brought up in my comments. I don't know if you know what it is, but this is like a massacre of Jews
Yeah.
happened there during occupation. And they have I actually visit that memorial that was built. But and they would brought it up to me like as if I don't know about it, like those comments in Twitter, and like look at this, what your people did. And first of all, it wasn't my people who did that. It was mostly Germans at that time. But whatever the heck, even like what am I have to do with anything? That's first of all. And second of all, do you know that Russians bombed the Babin Yar?
Mm.
That they literally destroyed that memorial? Yeah, it's very confusing. So
Well, in
sorry, I
this
just
war they did
remembered that.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, a bunch of other things as well, but that's just yeah. So I don't think it was like their goal, probably a mistake or like who the fuck knows at this point, to be quite honest. But it's just anyhow. What I'm making a point about is there are like a bunch of things like that, and it's very much learned in history. And we were doing World War II, pretty much everything about like Nazi occupation of Ukraine and how Ukrainian Jewish people suffered and Holocaust and everything is very much discussed. And
Mm.
also discussed that some people, especially like UPA, like Ukrainian Partisan Army and own like Ukrainian nationalists, collaborated with Germany and with Nazis. And yeah, it's not like nobody knows it and nobody speaks about it. People are pretty open about it, and yeah.
Yeah, I think the problem with it is like it's actually really annoying that so much of that criticism is like it's just monopolized by all the like the worst people, right?
Yes,
Like, and it's
exactly. Yeah.
also just like a way for them to excuse their own racism, like the way that they'll say fucking like Eastern Europeans or Baltics are just inherently Nazi, or like if you're Estonian, it must mean that your fucking grandparents did the Holocaust, or yeah, like or also just like it's just it's a, kind of an excuse for downplaying any Soviet crime, because yeah, I don't know if you came across this in your little Twitter exchange, but like the double genocide theory, which is supposed
No,
to
I don't
be
know.
it's supposed to be a critique of I think it's like a Baltic thing mostly, like a Lithuanian mainly the
Mm-hmm.
idea that like there's this Lithuanian story that we were genocided by the Soviets, and then the Nazis came in and did the genocide of the Jews, right? So it's like the double. It's like there's two genociders on each side, and what that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes becomes is actually like it devolves into like a almost like a Holocaust denial form, where they just downplay like the role of Lithuanian leaders in the Holocaust, or same with Balkans, and it becomes like this thing. But what people will also
Mm-hmm.
do is it's also becomes this massive like smokescreen for Soviets, because they'll just say like any mention of Soviet war crimes or Soviet anti-Semitism or Soviet ethnic cleansings is all double genocide. Like it's all like just apparently downplaying the Holocaust, which was worse, right? I think there was literally someone on Twitter who said Stalin was bad, but Hitler was worse. And that was someone saying like this is double genocide theory because you're putting Hitler and Stalin in the same sentence, you know? So it becomes like this massive defense mechanism for like sensitive fucking tankies. Yeah.
This is like some sort of this is definitely like Western commie cringe, I must say, because because for most countries there's no question pretty much about it. They're like treated as equally, as
Mm,
bad. And also sometimes people would say like Soviet was worse, and for them it was. So it's not very much a lie. So if a
mm,
person says this, it doesn't mean they downplay like Nazis. It means that their family in particular, their like history, their village, their city suffered worse under Bolsheviki, Red Terror, and further on. So yeah, so we, for example, I would say like there were like certain countries and certain regions, for example, in Ukraine, that you could easily hear people say like fuck them Nazis, obviously, right? But it was worse under Soviets, and they're not lying.
yeah, and
They're
but
just
people
saying
would
how
have
it is. Yeah.
and people would have no problem saying that about like, yeah, Kenyans suffered worse under the UK than they did under Nazis, because Nazis never went to Kenya,
Mm.
right? Or like India. So,
Yeah.
or even maybe even parts of North. I don't even know if this is the case, but I think maybe parts of North Africa suffered worse under the colonies than they did under the Nazis, because Nazis just weren't there for very long. Even though there were like Nazi-inspired pogroms in places like Algeria and shit, but I think maybe a lot of those people would say that because they were under France or the UK or even Italy for longer, then they probably do have a worse history with those countries. But or even fucking
Yeah.
Palestine. I think there wasn't. I don't know if this is real, but I don't think anyone's denied it. It's like there was a poll from Palestinians in the 40s. I don't think I was denying this, but apparently, like Palestinians at the time were more likely to want Nazis to win the war than the British, and that even then you could
Mm.
say that's because Palestinians were kind of getting fucked over by the British at the time, right? So like pretty
Yes,
badly.
it
So
was it's very much like this. Like you said, it's I'm saddened honestly that this conversation is fully poisoned. So anyone pretty much who says like, look at that patch, I just immediately block that fucker.
Mm.
At this point, because not because I don't want to like talk about it whatsoever, just because it's so poisoned by those like bad actors, tankies, Russia apologists, like Soviet, whatever the fuck, that I just immediately assume that I talked with actually Lena about it. She's a Ukrainian person on Twitter who I don't know, I talked with every now and then, like not talk personally, but on Twitter. And she basically like wrote a very great tweet that I relate to quite a bit. And she said that it made completely like impossible for Ukrainians to discuss these things with anyone outside of Ukraine. And she's a bit dramatic, but just in regards that with someone like you for sure, right? But with most people, I have to like trust them to trust them to know that they will be talking about it in good faith, not just to basically promote Russian narratives or to undermine aid to Ukraine, to undermine Ukraine's reputation. So to
Mm.
undermine aid to Ukraine, things like that. So it's so genuinely like poisoned, and it's so fucking triggering. I'm sorry for using this cringe word,
Mm.
but it is truly, because it's just you can call it an emotional appeal, I don't care, but sometimes as a Ukrainian, you just finished your day with learning that a bunch of people died, and then you open your Twitter and you read Russians, how Russians laugh about it and how joyful they are about their little genocides. You see a video of a Ukrainian soldier beheaded, screaming, and you see things like that every day. And then you open your Twitter and you see, look at this patch. And it's just sometimes just so overwhelming that you just lose your shit, I will admit. So you just get like angry and triggered. Like, why on earth? Why don't we talk about actions? We have a actual like fascist giant fucking state, trying to annihilate us as a nation openly say that you being a Ukrainian is a disease, openly killing our people, making people, I'm sorry, wipe their asses in concentration camps right now with our history books, our Ukrainian language books. You
Mm.
know, it's just, and we are supposed to just honestly, like, and then any other day I would discuss like far right people and say like, oh yeah, like it's not good, but it just feels so fucking. I don't even know how to say it in English, to be quite honest. Like, just so upsetting that you have to like, with every conversation you have to prove yourself to be like deserving of, I don't know, like human dignity, and it's just very upsetting. Yeah,
Yeah, because
sorry.
because even if because you can actually even be in a position now where you can almost concede like everything. You can just say, oh yeah, like Ukraine needs to address this like right wing pass and all that, and there's like maybe there's like a presence in Ukraine needs to be addressed, but it's like the biggest, like the much bigger right wing presence in Ukraine right now is like the Russian army, right? Like that's but the problem
Yes.
is like you're dealing with people who are just so like partisan and so brain dead that like they just think Russian imperialism, Western economic European Union, soft power imperialism. What's the difference anyway? Like that's really like that's really what they'll go to, and that's what they're maybe they won't say it out loud like that because it sounds really stupid, but that's kind of the rationale. Is like
Yeah.
yeah, so they just think it's like they just think it's all the same shit, and they'll say that as well. I don't know if you know like about way back in the day, but like under the directive of the Central Committee, like the German Communist Party said that Social Democrats were just as good as fascists because as long as you
Yep.
to some degree
Typical commie
supported
shit.
yeah, so as long as you support some degree of like liberal democracy or like you don't want to get rid of capitalism like yesterday, then that makes you a social fascist, so that's kind of why I think they just see Ukraine and Russia as like fascist on fascist violence because apparently throwing gays in concentration camps or like saying that trans people are a crime against humanity or Putin banning like basically having like no free elections, arresting people who protest the war, invading a country to restore like blood and soil borders. Apparently that's just as
Yep.
fascist as
That
like
one.
the EU coming into Ukraine and saying like, huh, open up your businesses a little bit to foreign investment. Apparently that's like the same to them.
Yeah, that's the same. Yeah. Also, there's like, I don't want to like be depressing right now because you're lefty and stuff. stuff, but I like you, so but it's just that they're like their dictatorships, It's what communists do. They like their dictatorships. They do. And they are feeling for the glorious revolution and for the, achievement of communist utopia. Everything is good. So everything works kind of. If you have to like tolerate a dictator to, achieve the communist dream, most of them are okay with that at the end of the day. That's why shit like that. I'm not talking all socialists, obviously, right? But those like people who are like, say they're communists, have like hammers and sickles and shit like that. Those people, they are okay with dictatorship. They are okay with imperialism as long as it's not Western and not American, and they are full on in favor of eliminating everyone who stands in their way. The only good thing about this whole thing is that they have zero power and they are like losers with anime profile pics. That's about the only saving grace in this situation. I don't treat them as that much of a threat as a far right, just because I know they're fucking useless, and they have no power. Otherwise, they are not that different. So yeah, and this is something that most people here know by example and by history and by experiencing it as well. So here, I mean, in this part of the world, obviously, right? So yeah, just of course, far right and fascist shit is way more dangerous currently because we have Russia and shit currently very much a problem, and also there are like warring insurgents of like fascist shit. I must say, like all over the world. Italy is confusing, like that lady in France nearly won, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's like a bunch of things, which again makes me very angry because in Ukraine it's not like that, and it's just so fucking weird. And you have like those Pew Research things that show like Ukraine is the least anti-Semitic country like in this whole European, sphere. And I think like overall we have like four or whatever the question was. I think, will you like accept Jews as your neighbors, something like that. So a crazy question, basically, not just are you like friends with Jewish people, or basically like, will you even tolerate their presence, nearby you, question like that. And I think Ukraine got the lowest score there, so like 4%, which Armenia, by the way, did 33. Pretty interesting. Why, nobody wants to denazify them. No, I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
yeah. I'm
it's not
not
even to
saying they
mention
should,
the Middle
obviously.
East. God, like
Yeah.
I'm from Lebanon, and every time they have one of these polls, it's like, how do you like? Oh, what percentage of them think Jews talk about the Holocaust too much? And it's like 70%. Or what percentage of them think Jews are like a
Really?
threat to world peace? Is like on 98. Yeah, like it's
Holy fuck.
Um,
Yeah, that's why it like pisses me off. Like I said, if there was a huge problem here, or not even a huge, or even a mild problem, right? Of like far right people in power, far right ideologies like gaining, growing like in people's minds, becoming more relevant, more prevalent in the country. I would say I would get more worried for that, obviously, and it would be more, I should say, probably like it would be much more relevant to talk about it, to address it in some way or form. But it's just not true, it's not real. So this is, yeah, because of that, it just makes you cringe all over and sometimes get upset, like I did recently. But that's another
yeah, because
another story.
I just thought
Yeah.
like, has there been anything in Ukraine for like Ukrainian anti-Semitic attacks in the last year? Like any high-profile stuff? I feel like if
Nah.
there was anything, I feel like if like one synagogue got burnt down by an Azov guy, that would just be like the story for the entire year. But I don't even know if there's anything like that. Is there?
Now, this is actually what you said, I think, in the beginning when we started talking. If everything they can find about those evil Ukrainian Nazis fucking patches, then we're good,
Yeah.
We're pretty good because you can't find anything because nothing is going on. Obviously, there have been like some guys actually found of those commies that were, messaging me, found that there was like a right sector dudes. It was, I think, 8 years ago or 7 years ago, something like that, maybe 6, something like that. They beaten up Roma guys, like Roma camps.
Okay.
Which is obviously very, very not good. But yeah, that's about it. That's what they managed to muster. It's just very. It is truly absurd because there's nothing like that, and they can't point to anything except for second symbols and patches. So that's why I was like, saying about obsession with like aesthetics and symbols, because they just that's what they care about. They see like a questionable, I don't know, like, or non-questionable, like straight up like far right symbol on you, and that's it. So that's to them that's it. You deserve to die, because of that. You're like a neo-Nazi, fascist, whatever the fuck. But
Yeah, and if you
I
have that symbol, it means you're a Nazi. And if you're in a battalion with someone who has that symbol on them, it makes everyone in the battalion a
you're
Nazi.
also
And it makes
Nazi.
and if the
Yeah,
government has that battalion in its army, that makes the government
it's a
Nazis.
Nazi government.
And if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
say that
Defend it, then
badge
you're a
isn't
Nazi.
as
Yeah, like me. Yeah.
then that
Yeah.
makes you a Nazi. Then I fucking tweet you, and that makes me a Nazi. It's really
Yep.
downgrading what the meaning of a Nazi is, right? It's kind of like,
Which pisses me off.
yeah,
To no end.
Nazis famous for I don't know, expressing nuance against some skulls in an army. Like that's exactly what a Nazi does. Okay, sure.
Yes, it's just very interesting, and people like were ass mad because of me calling it aesthetics, and they were like, "Oh yes, of course, the Nazi symbol is just aesthetics." And also, I made a point which people didn't like, that people harped on. Pretty much, it's the only thing they addressed in my entire thread, which I understand because it's easier to attack than the rest of the points I made. But basically, they were like saying like, "Oh, like." She's like defending, this whole thing. She must be a Nazi, first of all, and second of all, they were like, imagine thinking like, I forgot again how the fuck that skull is called. Totan
Totenkopf.
yeah, thank you. That yeah, so this is just whatever the heck. They were like, you look at that, like she thinks it's just not a Nazi would wear it, and people might get mad at me in your community as well, but yeah, actually sometimes people are like, oh, cool skull.
Mm.
I know it sounds like ridiculous for internet people who obsess over Nazi symbology all day, especially communists. Nobody obsess over Nazi shit more than them, not even Nazis. They love Nazi
Yeah.
symbology more than Nazis do. Yeah, but to be honest, I don't believe in God, but honest to any power in the universe, I had no idea what the fuck that skull was.
Yeah, it's
I didn't know.
I know that, so I actually have a friend who's like really obsessed with like 80s punk, and like that Death in June band. Like the thing with 80s punk was, first of all, that like 80s punk bands, whether they were Nazis or not, like they all fucked about with that imagery. Like fucking Sex Pistols used to go on
Yeah.
interviews with like swastikas. I think Vivienne Westwood put out
Yes,
like
I
merchandise
know
that had
it. Yeah,
skulls.
I'm a
I
fan
think
of,
though, I know that Death in June are very controversial within the punk community, because I think one of their original members was kicked out for being part of a fascist party, and their other guy is just like, he says he's not political, but he just fucks about with the imagery in so much that they do attract a
yeah,
very
seems
right-wing
so, yeah.
audience. So there's this like famous like controversy about whether or not it's okay to like Death in June as a punk listener, especially like today. But again, even then, like I wouldn't defend Death in June. I think they're sussy as fuck. But if you're talking about a guy in a photo with a Death in June patch, is like, okay, is he using the aid that was provided to him to hurt Jews? Is there any evidence of this? Is there any evidence that the army's doing this? And
Yes,
it's like,
thank you, man.
no, yeah.
Thank you. Exactly my point. You see, someone can understand it. Thank fuck. Yeah, just basically is what I mean is that I know it's hard to imagine for people who don't live regular lives, on the internet all day. But I
Well, hey,
swear
you're
to
getting
you,
too
like,
close there. Okay, you're getting too close to home
yeah,
there. But go
sorry,
ahead.
sorry. Yeah, apologies,
That's a
apologies.
lot
Not
of
you. You're based.
yeah,
Yeah,
not me.
yeah,
Just
you're
chat.
based. Yeah. You're not on the internet. They're not chatters. Of course not. They're like, real people touching grass every day. I know that. You
True.
know that. Everyone knows it. Yeah, thank you. Then continue with what I was saying. Yeah. So basically, the thing is that I know you even guys interested in in politics, in history, they might know, right? So like people who are not just obsessive, but just it's their, they talk about it. It's interesting to them. Most people don't give a flying fuck. I don't know how else to put it, but just like other than swastika, straight up like swastika, most people don't know any like symbols other than that. So if I go outside right now and show people on the street that skull, I can bet my money that 90% of people would not have no idea that it has any relation to Nazis.
Hmm.
I can literally bet money on that, like without even blinking, because and it's not me saying that anyone who wears it is not a Nazi. Obviously, they can be, right? But we don't know. We just don't know from the picture and from a patch. you can't tell. And I don't like this branding of people, you know? I don't like this branding of people as like Nazis without actually any fucking proof there. So to me, Nazism is not a patch,
Yeah, it's like
you know?
it's completely cheapening what a Nazi actually is. Yeah.
Yes.
It's almost
What
like
is this person
you can
thinking?
just it's almost a form of like Holocaust denial. You can say, because if all it takes for you to scream Nazi is like this loose chain of connection that like amounts to basically nothing. There's no policy position attached to it. There's no action
Yes.
of attached to it. It's like, really, that's what a Nazi is to you? Okay, sure.
Yeah, of course, if a person is like, I don't know, like saying shit, like for example, like of course, it doesn't have to be like I'm a Nazi, you know. Most people don't say it these days for obvious reasons, right? But if a person is like, oh, you know, those Jews, they control power, maybe it would be better if there was like less like degeneracy in our society, and you know, things like that. That I wouldn't call them straight up a Nazi probably, but I would be like, sus, you know. So I would be alert to that person, that's for sure, right?
Yeah, I
But
mean, okay,
also
like
again,
okay, I might do like a little bit of pushback. So I would say that, like
mm,
you said, most people see those skulls and it doesn't mean anything to them. I guess the other side of that argument is that they do mean something to Jewish people, right? Like, so if you're a Jewish person,
that's
you're going
true,
to be
yeah.
quite vigilant about that stuff, and it's probably quite scary if you see if you feel like the army protecting you is if there's evidence that a bunch of them are running around with Nazi idea, like if I was in charge of the army, at least, or if I was in charge of that battalion, I would see that guy and I'd be like, "Hey, take that, like, just take the patch off, you fucking idiot!" Like, come on, like, if you want to, yeah, like that's just not what we're about. Like, but again, I'm going to say that if you want to say, if you use this as an argument to not support the army or not like arm Ukrainians, then you need a bit more than just that. But yeah, I don't think it's like unreasonable for people to say that like anti-Semitic imagery is like, it might not be alarming to people like us, but it is alarming to the people that like, it could potentially hurt. But yeah,
I would
that's not
say
like
so
policy
that
position. Yeah.
this like good faith thing, I would pretty much say, yes, true. I would like prefer them to not, you know, wear things like that. I by the way didn't know, you know, about that skull, but you know, since I do know now, right? So I would like prefer it, but at the same time, like I said, Jewish people are not feeling threatened in this country whatsoever. We have a
Mhm.
Jewish president. We have like a bunch of Jewish people pretty much everywhere. Like one of the guys who actually posted at some point was my friend. He was wearing that red and black patch, which is like, you know, Ukrainian nationalist patch, and he also had like this cross and things like that. And he's a Jewish man, and yeah, a bunch of people in Azov are Jewish, just so happened to be because Mariupol, for example, their base city, there's like a bunch of Greeks and Jewish people there. So quite a lot of people of Jewish people in Ukraine live in Donbass. Actually, used to live, I guess I could say. But yeah, so there's like this very different type of like vibe. Like I understand why seeing a patch like that might be like, you know, but I actually don't ever get messages like that from Jewish people
No,
against
it's
those
always the
patches. Yeah,
whitest
yeah,
comment.
yeah.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah.
the Jewish people. If a Jewish person said that, I would be like, understandable, you know? I wouldn't like, you know, even probably even argue about that point with them. But I just genuinely never got messages like that saying like, I'm like Jewish person. It makes me uncomfortable to see things like that. I literally never saw it. So yeah, so that's also, like I said, they were anti-Semitic as fuck, these people. For old messages like that. And yeah, also there are like a bunch of different things. Like a bunch of those images are fucking photoshopped, which people discover later, you know. A bunch of those images are just you know, straight up out of context or something like that. It's just, yeah, it's just very strange. Also, even like I said, it's very triggering to even talk about those fucking patches. If people were not like accusing us of being Nazis over here nonstop, I would be pretty much on board with talking about that. Just, you know, how people are don't take it very seriously here, probably as they should, most likely, right? But
Hmm.
just, yeah, but just also critiquing people like that, you know, it just also, I hate it. Fucking hate it. Not gonna lie. Like when I see like a person who defends me right now literally from a fucking genocide, you know, from losing everything I care for in this country, and I don't want to fucking condemn them, you know.
Hmm.
If someone showed me proof that this person, like, I don't know, like shot a fucking Jewish person in his battalion, yeah, fuck that guy, you know, like jail. jail time, dude, right? But if there's no like actions, no like just it feels immoral to for me to say here, oh, look at this guy, he risks his life and he risks being torn apart by a tyranny every day to defend my ass. But I don't want to praise him for that because a patch, you
Hmm.
just I don't know if it makes sense, but it just feels so fucking weird to do that. And like I said, if I saw like some solid proof of a person in question being like an anti-Semitic asshole or like a far right person, then sure, I might say like, yeah, fuck that. But since I don't know and I have no means to check what the person actually thinks, what is actually their opinions, then I just don't feel like, what the point? What am I condemning? What the fuck am I condemning here? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just yeah. Also, it's like so performative that you have to like, I denounce, with every breath you have to fucking denounce shit. Also, I know it's offensive to lefty sensibilities, but far right people do exist. They also serve in the armies sometimes, oftentimes.
Yeah, they serve in every
The-
army. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't if unless they're doing something despicable, I have no reasons to fucking come at them. And just yeah, also being a far right person doesn't immediately makes you a fucking Nazi. But that's just a point beyond lefty comprehension in the West, apparently. So
Well,
yeah,
the
this is just
problem is that
um,
we don't like politics doesn't really affect us in the same way it affects you. So that's why I guess we take the
yeah,
little things more seriously, like we like a good disavow, disavow.
yeah. I'm kind of tired of disavowing shit left and
Yeah.
right. Also doesn't help my case whatsoever. So what's the point? Even if I start doing it, they will find a way to attack me and to call me a fucking Nazi anyhow. So might as well roll with it. Yeah, so I instead of answering them politely after being swarmed and already like blocking, I probably blocked like 1,000 something people.
Yeah.
And I was just at some point I decided to take how do you say it in English, to follow the footsteps of my leader, which is Stephen Kenneth Bonnell II,
Hmm.
and just tell them that in his very classy fashion, someone would write me a message like, "What do you think about Stepan Bandera?" And I would say, "I think he fucked your mom." That's the you
Okay.
know I took a page from my favorite streamer who makes your mom jokes all the time. And
Well,
it kind of made things a bit easier for me. I realized why he's doing it so much.
I mean, that's
It is
just
kind of pleasant.
inappropriate, though, isn't it? I might have to disavow,
Yeah.
public disavow. Uh,
Actually, after 1,000 messages calling me a Nazi and slurs, I was like, you know what? You know what? At this point, probably should make fun of this person and block them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, take no shit. Um,
Also,
so
the fact that they didn't ask it and like to actually know what I think. It was to imply that I'm like a banderite or some shit. Yeah, it's yeah,
yeah, I
fuck
mean,
that.
Twitter is not exactly the place you're going to go to for good faith conversations. Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Um, what else? What's your story? What do you want to talk about?
Pretty much, wanted to complain. I think I've did good job on that
That was the
so
main
far.
theme.
Yeah, that's really the main thing. Other than that, it's all pretty cool. I managed to actually finally get the second quad bike, which is now doing a makeover, getting a makeover, like dyed with like appropriate camouflage colors and things like that. Unfortunately, Steven's community Destinies helped me out with that, but unfortunately, the guys who we were going to give it to, most of them died recently, a
Oh,
week ago. Yeah, so we're still going to give it to their battalion, but they're getting relocated from Bakhmut because they just, can't take it anymore at this point. Um, so so probably it's going to get to them in a couple weeks. I hope. Yeah. Other than that, just usual stuff. Just yesterday got bought thermal scope for my friend, to kill Russians better. Just the regular life. It is what it is, yeah. Also, by the way, I don't know if you saw that they Russians shelled missile attacked Uman, which is a city of a Jewish pilgrimage, by the way.
Oh,
But that's like another, another story.
how do you spell
So
that?
the Uman, it's like Uman.
Okay, yeah, UMAN. Okay, and this is a Jewish
Yeah,
pilgrimage town. What does that
yeah,
mean?
yeah. They go there every now and then. Haside
Oh,
also. So yeah. So this is pretty, and a bunch of Jews lives there. So they're pretty based actually. I've been there. Actually, when I left Kharkiv for the first time because shelling was so heavy, I then returned. But that's like another story. I actually stayed in the Jewish quarter there. Like
hmm.
yeah, they actually got people like food and stuff like that, and you could stay for free, which is pretty based. Talk with a bunch of peeps there.
So are you
But
still running around the country quite a lot, or you what?
now permanently in Kharkiv mostly.
Okay.
Um, yeah, not mostly, just entirely, just at home, which is super happy about that, to be honest. And yeah, but I have been like there. Then I was in Lviv for a bit. Then I returned to Poltava, which is pretty close to Kharkiv. Then I stayed in Kyiv for a while. I was like, changing places. Now I'm mostly permanently just staying in Kharkiv. Yeah. So unfortunately, this Uman attack kind of like upset people, obviously, because it's recent and 23 people, if I'm not mistaken, were killed, and
Hmm.
5 or 4 of them were children. So yeah, residential
Yeah,
house.
I'm seeing the
Yeah.
story now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's just it happens all the time. It's not like it's um that irregular. It happens regular. It just happened less recently. Yeah, but made
Well,
a bunch of people anxious, and not as horrid as it is for those families, obviously, right? But yeah, but my mom had like kind of like a upset episode, I guess you could say. When things like that happen, she gets upset about what happened to her and my father and stuff. So um
hmm.
kind of remembers it a bit.
Yeah, that's your
um
Jewish community from 1900s. That's cool.
Yeah, they go hardcore there.
I
They
think
party hard over there. Yeah.
I think Jewish people were
Uh,
like some of the first documented people in Ukraine, weren't they? Jews and
yep.
Greeks, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
True. Greeks are still chilling, as you can see. I
yeah.
mean, me. Yeah. But other than that, yeah. Um, yeah, I was kind of upset because, especially because this city, there's like nothing there. It's just very uh, there like nothing there, like no bases, nothing like that. So it's just
Hmm.
um, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to see
Well,
where it is on the
you know.
map. Yeah. So is this is a Kherson region, isn't it? No,
Oh, it's
no.
Cherkas.
Cherkassk. Okay.
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
Cherkas Oblast.
Not sure why you'd
Yeah,
go
it's
over
like,
there. But
you
okay.
know, fucking nothing there, quite honestly.
Hmm.
Yeah. But everyone, why the fuck they blow up my father's house?
Yeah.
So who the fuck knows? I actually filmed there recently. I did like an interview with Devin. He's like a photographer from videographer from United States. And we actually ended up doing an interview in my father's like remains of my father's house, which probably would be an interesting, you know, interview when
Hmm.
he posted at some point. Yeah, and it was very interesting because we managed to get inside the house and we found like the only place that were not severely damaged, and you can see it there, and there was light there as well, was kitchen, which is where my mother was, which is why she wasn't killed. And yeah, so we did like an interview there, and then went outside and the house, and me and like Devin, we smelled like a grilled meat, like because of the smoke still.
Hmm.
So it smells like very smoked. So we went outside, and the hair and the clothing was all smelling like of kind of like a campfire, but a lame version of it, because it's it's a campfire over the house. Yeah, things like that. Just gonna deal with like getting this house soon. We are going to be able to inherit it in May, sort of. So maybe we could at some point manage to restore it, but I'm not sure because it's super duper damaged.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want to, I kind of want to restore the house and the garden as well, and also like bury. I have like my father's ashes in a like in a vase or something. How do you
Mm-hmm.
call it? Like urna,
Yeah, yeah, I
urn.
have an
Yeah,
urn,
urn.
yeah.
I think. Yeah. So I would like to, grow an apricot tree or something like that. He loved those, and
Oh,
maybe bury him under it would be cool. I think. Um, yeah, things like that.
yeah, sounds like you got
Chilling.
plenty going on. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Also, Dylan is here, but I haven't seen him yet. Because
Mm-hmm.
he's busy, filming with the sappers in Kharkivska
Yeah, I
Oblast,
saw that, yeah.
the mine. Yeah, and getting plastered, you know, the usual.
Yeah, I saw the pictures of the shots, yeah.
Guys just pray for Dylan Burns, honestly, because sappers, they drink.
Thoughts and prayers.
Also,
Yeah, sure.
also like vodka shots, like and shit like that, and they're feeding him sala and vodka. That's about it. So sala is like a Ukrainian traditional, like lard kind of like um, dish. It's
Mm-hmm.
like pickled lard. I don't know. Kind of sounds kind of disgusting when I say it like that. Also, I'm a vegan, so it's for me. It's all kind of not based, not cool. But this is like a very traditional dish, and they like feed him that nonstop and make him drink a lot. Which I drank a bottle of wine with him
Okay.
in my kitchen, and he was semi-drunk after that. So prayers for Dylan Bernsenko.
Yeah, Americans don't
This is my
really
version.
handle booze as well as Europeans do, especially
Oh
Eastern
yeah.
Europeans, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah. You guys are not you. You're not American. I suppose you can be a good
No, I'm
alcoholic.
Scottish. We're up there with you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. Yeah. Irish and Scottish are up there. I don't know who's best in between us. To be honest, I think
Mm,
we kind of like both. All of us are based alcoholics.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, not America, especially not Dylan Burns. So prayers.
true.
Yep.
I sent you a little screenshot just as a heads up, by the way, if you wanna.
Oh, screenshot. Um, what's there?
It's me and our mutual friend have like we have like a I have a fan who's also
Oh, I
still a
see.
fan of his, so sometimes send me screenshots from his patron only Discord, and
Oh, Jesus.
that's him talking about how he was looking for nudes in my Discord. So it's just a heads up that since you've crossed this guy, um, if you have
I
nudes out
see. I
there,
see.
he's probably going to go looking for them. I don't know, maybe. Just seems to be
I
one of the
don't.
things he does.
Yay. Fuck you, guy. No nudes anywhere. Fuck off.
Mm.
Thank you for the warning. But this
It's
is
just
like
part
the
of the
type of fun,
anti-fascist
Yeah.
action, It's like
Of course. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
I don't
Harass
know,
people and find their nudes is just anti-fascist. The
based.
only thing that warms my soul, to be quite honest, after all this debacle, is that they can only dream to be half an anti-fascist as that guy with that skull, because he
Oh,
fights actual fascists, and they're like sitting on their asses at home in mom's basements. So the best anti-fascist actions they do is harass people on Twitter. That's about it. But anti-fascist actions that Ukrainians do is fighting fascism. Again, by the way. So
mm,
so yeah, so I guess I'm good on that. If that's the difference, I think. So we will continue our like mission to actually defeat those fascist facts, and they can continue to be pathetic on Twitter and on the internet. I guess everyone has their lot in life.
yeah,
Yep.
cool.
Anyhow, probably I feel accomplished because I complained. And I think maybe that's about it. Probably I'm gonna go probably try to talk with Destiny at some point, because people have said that I have not been there for a while, and it's true. I cannot catch him
Yeah,
apparently.
have you done the rounds with other streamers? Apart from all just like Vosh, me, Dylan, Destiny, anyone else?
Not the big people like at all. Like smaller people I talked with quite a bit. I've been on like several channels and but they're like very small, like 1,000 people, like 500 people. You know, I just if people like invite me, I go. I don't really care how much of people they have.
Okay.
But the big ones are yeah, Destiny, Wash, and you probably.
Do you know a streamer
Um,
called Corantos by any chance?
um, wait, is that the guy in a mask that talks with Destiny sometimes
Yeah,
in the glasses? I don't know like much of him. I just saw him on Destiny's channel, I think.
that's okay.
What of it?
I was just
Do you
trying
think
to
I should talk with
just
him?
floating ideas for stream guests that are streams that you could appear on, you know?
Oh no! I was setting me up. I can sense it.
Yeah.
Evil box.
True.
Y- yeah. Well, I don't know much about him. I only know that he says it's kind of. He's like a very like Muslim, like a pro-Islam dude. I think is like his shtick, and
Oh,
he
he's in
like
my chat.
yell.
What the fuck? Okay, yeah.
Oh, holy shit! I think he was arguing with Destiny about like that he shouldn't mock like
Muhammad,
Islam
yeah.
and shit like that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I know about him.
I don't know. I think
Yes.
I disagree with him
in the
on
face
pretty
of your
much
last
everything, but
interlocutor on this
I don't know.
issue.
I have a soft spot. He reminds me of home. He reminds me of like listening to my dad scream at like Muslim taxi drivers in fucking Dubai or
Aw,
Lebanon. So
cute.
yeah,
Okay,
or
that's cute.
or that it's them or the Muslim preachers in London who go into the town square and just like go batshit. They have an energy that is just unrivaled in the white world.
I see. That's true, actually. You know, they can be passionate guys.
Hmm.
I actually don't know that much, that many Muslims, but still, uh, not something I talk about that much. Other than like my main buddy, Spike, who is Azerbaijani.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's Azerbaijan Ukrainian, but he's not that, he's kind of Muslim, but he's not like, doesn't talk about much about that. Yeah. Um, yeah, he
Okay.
he sometimes tries to show me proof of the existence of God. That's about it. No,
Yeah.
that's
Well.
about as far as it goes. So pretty chill. Which didn't convince me so far, but good luck to him.
Do you know a streamer called President Sunday?
Yes, I know of him because I talked with Erudite, not so Erudite, a bunch of times, and he had this like vendetta against her.
Oh.
So I know about that because I talked with her about that. But that's about
Okay.
it, pretty much.
So
Yeah.
I'm just spitballing, just throwing ideas out there for stream shows for stream guests.
Can I be mean
Uh,
to the guy, or is he your friend?
he's not my friend.
Huh?
No.
Oh, I see. I don't know. Like I don't know why would he want to talk with me. Probably wouldn't, right? But I get like huge serial killer vibes from him, so I really don't want to.
Damn.
Sorry. Yeah, I would rather Corantes, I think, right?
Okay.
That I would prefer that. Despite the fact that he has a mask and has like glasses, I think, and sometimes weird ass gloves, I think he gives less of a serial killer vibe still. So,
Interesting. Do you
yeah.
well, maybe think of one more. Do you know a streamer called Lavloon?
Oh Jesus, come on. You're just, doing the thing. Yes, I
Yeah, I'm
know.
running out of ideas.
Yeah, this is like I know of her because, I never talked with her. So, yeah. I know my God Emperor Destiny's, problems with
True.
certain people. So, yeah, the only person actually I interacted with is Mr. Girl of all people,
Yeah.
I had like a bit of a I don't know how to say it, fight, I guess you could
Oh,
say.
you had a Twitter fight with him. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's about it. Basically, I was just, a meanie. I kind of mocked him, so understandable. Yeah.
Has he accused you of
Uh,
abusing him yet?
not no, not yet. But he he actually kind of, I was just making fun of the fact that he did not kind of try to ask me to participate in his article or whatever the heck that was, and
Oh.
I was like, why did he invite me to talk? Like I'm like a prime,
Mhm.
prime case for his abuse of women or some shit. Like but apparently I made like a couple jokes about that, and then I said that I don't remember like exactly, but I said like maybe because I would give like positive experience story with like Destiny and DGG and things like that. And he was like basically saying like you can come along like positive experience, and obviously no positive experience ended up being in his article as
Mm.
I expected. So yeah, I was like, no, thank you, dude. He would could possibly find a way to kind of make it into abuse still, even it's a even if it's a positive experience. I'm pretty sure he would find a way how to make it into a victim of abuse still. So I would not talk with that guy. Also, I then posted some proofs of Destiny abuses actually.
Yeah.
So I think it will go. Yeah, I did. It will, I think, go into Mr. Girl's second article, like 2.0 or 2's article.
What
Sure, it is a great.
what abuse was this?
Well, basically, I kind of like, messaged Steven about his the fact that he finished Factorio, the game.
Uh,
And I was like, oh, yay, congrats. Like, happy for your dudes. They don't have to suffer through that boring shit anymore, in community.
yeah.
And he was like, oh, yeah, smileys. And then I saw him playing it again.
Oh.
And I was like, why the fuck are you playing it again? And I was like, oh, just in the background. And I was like, is there a rehab for Factorio? And he didn't respond for a whole day. He ghosted me.
So he
It
gaslit
was so,
you and then he stonewalled you.
yeah.
Oh God.
Yes, it was a fucking stonewalling. I posted that on Twitter and I said, like, look at this shit. And then you know what else happened? I sent him like a crying pepper frog, and I said, like, oh no, like, please don't like burn this bridge. I will not comment on your addiction problems anymore, I swear. And he still didn't respond for a while,
Damn.
you know? Yeah, I know.
What a girl boss.
Still in shambles, still in shambles over that shit. Yeah. So that's the proof, I guess. Also his takes on Hamas offensive. I think it's abusive
On the food or the organization? Do you say
on the food.
Hamas or hummus?
No. I'm sorry. No, not Hamas, not the food. Hummus. I don't know how you
Hummus.
say it
Yeah,
in English.
yeah.
Hummus.
Hummus is
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Yeah. It's like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Not
yeah.
hummus. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought he pronounces like that, and Americans pronounce
Yeah,
it like that.
Americans
But
are
we actually
retarded.
say
Yeah, yeah.
hummus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, his takes he called it like bland, tasteless sand, and in the like and I think that's kind of abusive
To
in
be
my
fair,
opinion.
if you get it
Yeah,
in America, it probably does taste like that. There is such a
probably.
thing
Yeah,
as bad hummus. Yeah, for for
yeah,
sure.
for sure. Yeah, but his food takes are legendary bad apparently. So
So I've
you
heard.
know,
Yeah.
those are two instances you would easily call abuse. I think. Yeah. Other than that, nothing to say.
Hmm.
Although it is kind of weird. I get like a bunch of like strange emails sometimes, which I think is Mr. Girl sends, but could be I'm not sure, like can't tell for sure. But the verbiage they use is kind of similar, so I assumed. And they would be like, you just don't understand that he's like abusing you and things like that. They also will not stop talking about like sexual shit. They're like obsessed with his sex life, which is something I truly confused about to this day. Yeah. And I would get messages like, "Have he flown you in yet?" Things like that.
Hmm.
Also things about like, "Oh, are you sexting?" And I was like, "Dude, just chill the fuck out. Why are you so obsessed with this man's life? Just touch grass or something. I don't know." And they will just nonstop like ask me like questions like that or imply things
Wait,
like
who
that.
is asking you that stuff?
Destiny haters, basically, like
Okay.
Mr. Girl fans. Yeah, they would write like emails sometimes. I have like email address for my PayPal, for volunteer work. So I would get their messages that, death threats, shit like that, rape threats, and sometimes messages from Destiny haters.
Mm.
And also things like, die UkrainianAna, things like that. No, it is,
Yeah, well, that's why I'm trying to
whatever,
branch you
right?
out. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
do you know a
But
streamer
Destiny,
called Demon Mama?
Oh, you just wouldn't give up, would you?
What?
You just don't give up with those awful suggestions, right?
Is that an awful
I don't know
suggestion?
much. I don't know. I don't think I heard anything good about her, to be quite
Okay.
honest. So
Well, she doesn't like me,
yeah,
but she probably would be a good host. She definitely agrees with, she's pro-Ukraine, but yeah, who
I
knows?
imagine so. Yeah, I think she's like in Vosh kind of like sphere. I think,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I would presume probably that she's not a tanky.
no.
But yeah, that's just no. Also, my I don't know. She's like, I think she's like has like huge problems with Steven, I think.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Your guys is like a Brazilian soap opera. I get confused who hates who sometimes.
It's a Brazilian soap opera. I
Uh,
thought it was just like any old soap opera. Yeah.
Brazilians is especially spicy, so that's why
Oh.
I'm bringing it up. Oh, at least that's what I saw
Someone
when I
in
was growing up. Brazilian soap operas were very popular in Ukraine for some reason. Fuck knows why. I don't know.
someone in chat is asking if you know a streamer called Chud Logic.
Yes, I do. I actually, like him. I commented about, with like he watched a video of me talking with Wash about his glorious Azov takes,
Ah, okay.
which were not glorious, by the way. But I actually respect Wash quite a bit. So no, no blood there. But this is something I really disliked about what he said, and I, tried to talk with him about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty kind of like a, tense conversation. But despite that, I still, don't have nothing, against him whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and his community was weirdly actually receptive of me being. They wouldn't just call me like Nazi and shit like that because of those takes. They would just like half of them actually kind of like agreed with me, which was pretty weird. I didn't expect that. I expected them to be more hostile, but they weren't. So based, and yeah, overall it was pretty good. But yeah, why did I start talking about Wash? Oh, because why I lost my train of thought completely. What the fuck?
About
Mm.
Vosh's community being a
Oh,
broad
chat logic.
church.
Yeah, chat logic. Yeah. So chat logic basically watched this conversation I had with Vosh, and that was like it was pretty dramatic. There was like crying and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he watched it for content, I presume.
Oh, I remember
So
Chud made
yeah,
that he made that thumbnail with the
yeah,
title
Vosh makes you cry, I wouldn't cry. That
"Continues
typical chat
debating."
logic.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
god.
yeah.
Oh well.
Well, chat shit. Nothing like to be mad about, in my opinion. I, jested about it, and even talked a little bit about it because he like was confused about the some parts of this conversation, and I, cleared up some things basically for him.
Yeah, no,
And
it's
yeah,
also
sometimes I watch
it's good that you and Vosh are
him.
still on good terms as well, because yeah, like his community are like they're very big, so there's probably going to be some divides.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there was some like nasty Nazi shit there, calling me like names and stuff, but
Oh
very
yeah.
little. Most
Yeah.
of them were very much receptive, and those who disagreed with me also were kind of okay, in regards how they treated. And I got a bunch of like Twitter people from Wash as well, like followers and stuff, and
Hmm.
yeah. But I think it's something that just people like, oh, you hate him now, and I was like, no. I mean, yeah, I disagree. I think this particular thing about him, what he did, was not good. So I find it offensive. And I,
Yeah.
talked with him about it. But that's about it. Doesn't mean I'm like, oh no, fuck that guy now. Like I still respect his work for what he did for Ukraine, like coverage, and I still think he's one of the best like left people out there. And I just have disagree and I super dislike that opinion still, but doesn't make me hate him. I just don't understand how the shit works online sometimes.
Yeah.
People
People
say
can be
one
quite.
thing you don't like and you're like, yeah, they're like, fuck that guy for life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Like,
weird.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty weird. So yeah, also gotta say I'm like kind of fan of his cats, so there's that.
That's true.
you know can't hate when there's cats, especially the fact that he named them after the Pathologic game, which is,
Yeah.
another story. It's a Russian game, which, um, fuck them, but the game is good. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so is Tetris, and I like that game.
Is Tetris Russian?
Yeah. There's a whole
Oh,
story
I
about
didn't
how
know.
it left the Soviet Union and ended up on every console. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
that's a Soviet
Interesting.
game.
Hmm. I see. I thought it was super popular here. Like, I guess now I see why. But I didn't know it was. I thought it was Japanese for some reason. What the fuck?
No, there's like they made a fucking film about it. It was really bad, but it's all about how the companies from America and Japan like tried to get Tetris out of the Soviet Union and into their consoles, and there was like all kind of like
Oh,
because of the Soviet Union, there was some kind of like scams that went on and people like fucking each other over. But yeah, yeah, it's a Soviet game. Yeah.
interesting. Interesting. Interesting.
Hmm.
Well, yeah. Anyhow,
Yes.
thanks for talking to me, and I will go probably. Yeah, probably will try to catch Destiny if he's busy. Then I don't know, we'll go chill. I feel like kind of down today for some reason. Maybe chilling is in order. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
hanging out in people's streams is probably the best way to do that. So yeah,
I
or it's
don't
a good
know.
way to do it.
You think that's why you call your streams chilling and relaxing all the time?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see like the names of the streams, and it's like chilling, and I'm like, you guys like chilling nonstop. And then you open the conversation, there's like a screaming match between people, and you're like, doesn't look like chilling.
Nah,
But
that's chilling. Yeah.
yeah, I see, I see. Well, anyhow, thanks for having me on. Still impressed with your skills of playing Червона Калина. So, still impressed by that stunt, you know?
Oh,
Remember
thanks.
you did that? Yeah. Still in my mind. Yeah, anyhow, nice talking with you. Maybe at some point when I have some more to say than complain about commies online. And yeah, thanks. Bye bye, everyone. And box.
Cool. Take
Lonely
care.
box, lonely box. Bye.
Nice one. Bye bye. Okay. Fucking Nazi. All right. What are you guys saying? His Carantos is gone. Don't worry about him.